Today is Dr. Ann Lord. She's a lecturer at James Cook University at the School of Creative Arts, and she's a founding member of Umbrella. And this organization started over a quarter of a century ago, 85, 86. It started with 5 printmakers who needed a place to work and print, and here we've grown now to quite a dynamic organization. The exhibition that's on the walls, Compact Prints, started in 2002. The former director, Rebecca Butler, came up with this marvelous idea, and Anne will talk a little bit about that. This is the first time this exhibition will travel after it leaves here around the world, so we're very excited about that. And I thought when Sue Hackett invited us to present something about compact prints, the exhibition that we have on currently, of course, made sense. And I thought now, of course, I want to invite someone who really understands all of the techniques of printmaking. Anne is a very fine lithographer that has taught every medium, every technique of printmaking and digital. And I thought Anne would be just a terrific person to invite to speak with us today because she's held in very high esteem and very knowledgeable. So my pleasure to introduce Dr. Ann Lord.
Thank you, Vicki. Usually I just add, so welcome to the exhibition, and I'm not going to talk too much about techniques because art is art. This happens to be printmaking techniques. They happen to be in a format that's 120 by 120 millimetres, and I think it happens every 2 years. So I'm sure there are a lot of people here who've been thinking already that they'd like to be in the next one. And so I guess when I look at these prints, I think, or these little compact images, a number of things come into my mind, like what makes us attracted to an image. It's so subjective, and music is subjective, and you're all here to listen to music. So I think we could talk about a lot of different things in terms of the softness of an image, or the boldness of an image. We could talk about the colour. Colour seems to attract a lot of people, as I'm sure it does in music. So we get these wonderful, delightful colours that we're drawn to. And then in other prints, we get really, really black, white. And the other thing that's very, very exciting about this exhibition, there are artists that have been doing this different processes for years and years. And Margaret Wilson, who's having a show here in December at Westpac, the other gallery, she's been doing these beautiful, refined, bright works, and so that's the sort of work that definitely black and white, bold, serene. She often does very, very elegant work. And so I'm drawn to a print like that because I recognise without reading her name relevance. And so when I first looked, I thought I better know who's got what here, whose work's what, and I've never heard of these names, and that's not what it's about. So then I thought, well, these things of the boldness, the colour, whether people are from Townsville or Australia or overseas is another quite interesting thing to look at. So if you had a quick look at this wonderful display with text underneath the image, you will have seen that there are a lot of international artists here. So in this wall it's an Indian artist, and this is a little, I'm going to mess up your phone.
No, that's all right.
So here's an Indian artist, and it's a digital print, and somebody asked me, how do you do digital prints before? And this is a keyboard, and it's got a nice play on text. Her name is Mukesh Sharma, and here are 3 keys going MUK. And I thought, what a lovely result of her piece. And if you read the statements, I can't remember this one, but it's about the infinite monkey theory. Basically it takes its cue from the infinite monkey theory. And so that a monkey hitting keyboards full on all the time could eventually come out with something such as the complete works of William Shakespeare. I do not believe it by one minute, but I think, wow, this is a really interesting infinite monkey theory. But above all that, sometimes the meaning in the statement is really, really important to understand the word. In this case, it uses a really nice, light, alternative way to look at the image. And we can see other little things in here, the wall. So I'm drawn to prints not just because of colour, but the meaning and the meaning and the colours and the texture, the ambience, composition, everything helps that image say something to me. So while we're talking about these really bright things, here's a lovely little screen print from Wales, heat transfer printing and sewing. And even when you're back up in that other room, you see this, yes, in bright colours, and you know that there are 3 or 4 processes happening here. So it doesn't have to be a lino print or just a digital print. Yes, it's probably a digital image, but in the end, we don't sort of try and break it down because the whole thing has come together to say, yes, I'm here, here's my print, Becky Knight from Wales. So I went round a few times and I thought, well, what is it about these words and how I see different things? And I did often it's the colour, but let's go over this way this time. So here's a little alternative idea of monoprint, photocopy and collage. So we know what collage is, gluing bits of paper onto another surface. Photocopy, we know what that is, and a monoprint could be absolutely anything. We could put colour on glass, we could press a piece of paper onto it, we could draw into the back of it, but in this case, I think she's possibly even kissed the plate. It's a lovely thing. Printmakers love to do stuff like that. Put a big Vaseline on the plate and get an image. So I suspect that's part of the monotype, where you can get maybe just red lipstick and kiss the glass and print from it. That's a monotype. The other really lovely monotype is up in one of the school images, and it's the same technique that a master printer and master artist in Hurst Tucker is using at this particular time. So I think we've just been to Hurst Tucker. Who's the artist there?
John Canapan.
John Canapan, thanks very much. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from the left on that panel is a little tiny monoprint that's been made by drawing through the back of paper onto some ink on glass. And when you pick it up again, you get this lovely scatty, speckly sort of textures that John Canapan has taken to a very high level. This girl has used it in another way as a monotype, and that little school student has used it. So there are so many ways to print images that are really wonderful. This probably doesn't need a lot of skill, you know, kissing the plate, painting some transparent colour on the glass, making some text photocopied. Benefits of red wine. So that's the only bit I'm going to read upside down, but even nicer to see that sort of thing. And that's what I was saying before, when you get the idea, the textures, and this lovely sort of splashy painted things, and not so much lipstick, but it's a bit like that Andy Warhol's image of Mick Jagger, and the lips are sort of like this gradual smudge of red and sort of thing. Yes, it's so luscious and it's so Mick Jagger and it's so photo screen and all the rest of it. So they're the things that I get hooked on, and I could like a lot of these different things. I could comment on them. I thought when I saw this, Beryl and Boyd were dreaming an extension, and I thought it was so funny. So it's a hand-coloured lino cut, and it's very bold. It's one of those very bold images. I hope it's a decent size edition. Some of them are just 3 prints or 4 prints. Some of them there's an edition of 20, and if it's hand-coloured, and that wouldn't be hard to hand-colour an edition like that. So these are great, and they're going overseas, aren't they? And they're some for sale if artists have got enough.
Possibly, yes.
So here's a political one, so we all need to know that artists love to be political. And here's Obama, and here's, I had to read this to remember who that face was. Yes, and so Courage to Resist. So she's done the screen print. I used to teach lots and lots of screen printing. I'd love to teach it again. I just like the way you can say this particular image needs something like a Radical 70s poster, and they were often screen printed. So that's what Karen Kelly has done in that one. She's an Australian artist. I don't know most of the artists, but I've had a lot of fun looking around. And then you see some paper that I don't even know what it is. It's called a rinsed screen print. But how fantastic. So it's an ink on paper process. He talks about how it's not the state that interests me, but the box that the sizzle comes in. And so it's a bit like Andy Warhol's baked bean things. And not the worst, not the worst, not the worst. But I don't know much about it except that I thought, well, apart from recognising an aspect of Andy Warhol's process, I thought, well, you know, it's another one of those colour things. And by extreme contrast next to it is a man who's been printing and an artist, worked at the College of Art in Brisbane, Jim Brody, and he's done a very, very sensitive work where he's just got one line in his statement, a small print about being on a ferry and feeling insecure. He's used a little girl, we don't know if she's related to him. It's very soft. He's done a lot of photo screen printing and things like that. And I just felt, well, isn't it amazing to see these people that have contributed to the compact print exhibition? So, you know, it goes back in time to people that are very, very fine practitioners, and it's quite impressive, I think, to see them contributing to a show like this. I know I can't comment on everything, but here's a digital print again. This one's very different from the other digital print. This one is by an artist in Iran, and a few notes I wrote about this was that there are bullet holes. There are faces here, but there's a superimposed, war-torn image of cracked walls, gaps in walls, bullet holes in walls, and then faces. And I feel like if you're going to do a digital print from a photograph, this to me has put a fair amount of thinking into how the print's been resolved. They've limited it, even though you can do thousands of digital prints. This is 5 on 10, so there are only 10 in the whole collection. And rather than be too literal, this one makes a very, very strong statement without actually showing, well, it sort of shows the terror of war in some ways, but it shows the terror of war in a very, very subtle way, so that we don't get that shock tactic thing, but we get that time to think and go, oh, you know, this is something this person has probably lived through, and they've commented on it, and they've been able to send their feeling to Australia. And I don't know if these two know each other, they're both from Iran, but the other one has taken a lovely old process of photogravure, where you have a metal plate and you photographically transfer an image as an etching process. Very, very fine, an old advertising process. So photogravure often gives us this very, very fine little half-tone techniques, but in a sort of reduced tonal scheme. So we used to call them tonal dropouts in photo screen printing. So we can, let's go to this wall. Everybody's sort of
I'll go at the end.
So I'm not trying to select things that I think are the best. I'm just saying there are things that appeal to me